right, you legends. Yet another day. It is cold here. It's about 3 Celsius, which is about 37 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm bundled up completely, and we're headed out. We'll try to get some clips for you. We're gonna go to Richards, Texas today. Doing a long ride. I plan to ride steady or steadily. We'll see what the group does. On this ride, I left Northampton, rode into the woodlands, picked up the group at the Alden Village Center. We headed out Research Forest, the Honier Egypt Road, went all the way into Honier, Rabon Chapel, Mill Route 2854, stopped at Taco, continued after Montgomery into the forest on Mount Pleasant Road. We filmed until 149. We turned back when we got to 149, made a change of plans, and basically Paul and I went Spring Branch through the neighborhood after we got past Gary. Took the Hills Parkway when we got into Keenan, Honier Egypt Road, back to the woodlands. It was one of the coldest days we've had so far, and I hope that you will enjoy the clips that we put together for you.
Put it all out.
We're at the open road. We're at the FM 1488 in Egypt Lane.
His ears out.
It's cold. Yet everybody handles the cold differently. You'll see people wearing different levels of protective gear or lack thereof. Mo's here with us. He's not wearing much. He just has a gilet. He probably has a base layer and a gilet, but nothing on his legs. He likes the cold. That's English Mike on the right there. He's using a fixed gear bike, but I think it coasts. One of those BMX style freewheels. Our weather changes very dramatically for us, so we never get accustomed to very cold weather. And then when it does get here, during the day it warms up to like 21, 24 Celsius. It's like 70 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit some days. But Saturday and Sunday we were about 15 to 18 Celsius for the high, like 60 to 65. My plan on this day was just to ride steadily. I'm going to be making some modifications to our ride groups. I've gotten a lot of requests to set up speed groups. And so what I will do is have like a 20 plus and a 16 to 18, or a 20 plus, 18 to 20, and 16 to 18. And we'll see if they show up. If people contact me and they don't show up for the ride, so. But at least I will have those options there starting next week. And we have a board called Chasing Watts. I'll start posting a copy of our rides there to encourage more people to come out. I think if I have more options, we'll get more ridership, and then we can split people up. And I will definitely be making sure that for each group, somebody's kind of there to make sure that nobody falls from the A and try to raise the pace for the big B group, because that foolishness goes on all the time. The roads were very empty on this Saturday ride because of the holiday. Everybody's out of town, and it was cold too. We're going to be turning left. We weren't Honia, Egypt. That's Mo and Ed up there. This is Garrett here in front of Laura. Laura wasn't feeling well on this ride. She said that she didn't sleep well. You know, you have to monitor yourself. If you're not feeling good, back off or let the group go so you can rest up. And, you know, Laura rides frequently, so sometimes if you ride a lot and you don't get enough rest, your body hasn't fully recovered. The 2 days prior to this ride, I didn't ride. So my legs were kind of blocked up, but I was fine. Legs were fresh. I just didn't feel very supple on the bike. Ed thought that we were running a double pace line on this road. I'm not sure why. We never do a double pace line on this road. It's too narrow. So he's going to sit up there next to Mo for a while. And that's this is a hard pace because we're going up. This road has rollers and we're going into the wind here. This is a 3% bump. And so after a while, when he taps out, he realizes nobody's behind him. So my goal on this route was to try to do a long endurance ride, but you know, you can never really keep yourself where you need to be when you hook up with a group. Right now I'm where I need to be, but in a few kilometers I will go all the way near a sweet spot. And I really want to just stay in my aerobic zone, like 150 or less. So we have a nice tight pace line. I wasn't sure there'd be a bunch of riders out. We had a decent turnout for the weather, you know. It's not going to warm up much. I think in a little while Ed's going to tap out. We just came down the hill, so my heart rate's low. but the effort is going to stay steady. We're going to keep going up and into the wind, and so it will gradually increase. So in a short while, I'm going to be near sweet spot, tempo to sweet spot, and that's not where I want to spend a lot of time on this ride. And you know, the zones will vary, but your overall average, you want to be in the zone prescribed for your plan that day. So right here, the road starts to become like a false flat. We've just come down the hill, so it's leveling off. It's going to start kicking up after we go through that curve. Somewhere around here, Ed taps out, and then he realizes nobody's behind him. Nobody intended to sit in the wind. The road is quiet this morning. You know, it's a holiday, Saturday morning, but normally we ride single file here. That's where he tapped out and he realizes nobody's behind him. We can sit up there all day. We don't intend to kill ourselves the first hour of a 6-7 hour ride. So I've already hit sweet spot, well, the bottom of sweet spot, I mean tempo zone. So this is faster than I need to be going today. I'm sitting probably 2 riders behind Paul. Shave the road here, that's why that noise you're hearing. And so I keep about, my tires are 90 to 95, 90 in the front, 95 PSI in the back. So it really soaks up those bumps nicely. So Paul is sitting on Laura's wheel here and filming. That's Garrett in front of Laura, and then Mo is pulling now. And the pace just stays high. So periodically you will see him just drift off the front because Garrett holds the group pace. He keeps it steady. And then Mo realizes, oh, okay, then he will back off. Did that several times. I think right here is one of them. There's a gap up there already. See that? Garrett just held the group pace. because Mo didn't realize he was pulling away. But once he found out, he backed off again. But it's just that we're already going harder than we had planned to go. So I already knew it. You will hear me tell them later in the film. I don't plan on following Mo for 6 hours at this pace. And we're going straight on this road today. We're not going through the neighborhood. I like riding this road, especially early in the morning. You can ride it any time of day. There's not a high volume of traffic here. Mo was asking where we're going. Somebody said straight. Forgot this guy's name on the left. I'm not sure what that guy was yelling. He's a runner that was yelling. He was basically celebrating something. That guy's moving back to the back of the group, the one on the left that you just saw out of the picture right now, because he's going for more shelter because Mo is off the front again. And so Garrett, to his credit, is holding our pace. He's not chasing Mo. There's more in the distance there. And when he realized he's going to sit up. So by the time we get to another stop, I just told him to go ahead. When we got the taco, I told him, I'll keep going. And he wanted to know whether we're going to change the route. We ended up changing, but it wasn't planned. By the time we got out of the forest, Laura said she wasn't feeling well. We really didn't want her to ride back alone, but she ended up riding alone. So Paul and I just took the long way home. We did Spring Branch and everything. Got a chance to catch up. And we dropped the effort to like zone 2 where we could talk. So Mo slowed down. But you know, there's no way this was gonna go for 6 hours. I mean, he's just flying right now. So we're like, when we got the taco, he kept going. He didn't stop with us. So my heart rate has dropped about almost 10 beats in about maybe 2 kilometers here. I'm feeling fine. My legs are fine. I feel strong, but I didn't want to push on this ride. That was not my plan. So you have to be disciplined. And if you're riding with a group that is going harder than you plan to go, you're better off riding by yourself or find a slower group. I mean, if the group splits, that's even better if you can ride with other people that are disciplined to stay near where you want to be. So you always got to have your own plan. Don't let the group dictate what you do. If it's inconsistent with your plan, then you don't want to ride with them. Laura's pushing a big gear here. That's the rhythm that seems to be working for her right now. So when we hit those rough sections like that, I stand up on my pedals. Saves your wheels. It's a nice downhill. You can see, even though we're going downhill, we still got a nice tight line going. So even though the pace is faster than we want to go, the fact that it's steady makes kind of a difference. Although I'm right at sweet spot right now, this is not where I need to be, but it's steady. There's not a whole lot of accelerations and so forth and so on. So I figure, okay, I'll just sit in the line. That's the difference. If there were a lot of jumps, it would take me further out of my zone quicker. And I'll be like, why am I bothering? That's not the kind of training I want to do. So there are different kinds of pace. I think Moore's going to pull away on this bump again. And Garrett just keeps the effort steady here. This is where Laura drifts back, which is unusual for her. And then later on she tells us, I'm not feeling great, or I'm not feeling like myself, something like that. She drifted back and just changed her position in the line. This is the FM 2854. See how loud cars are? They ruin the environment. The cities and the streets are not noisy. It's cars that are noisy. just loud. And some of these geniuses spend money to make them even noisier than they already are. Yeah, this one I told Dan Jaworski. That's what he said. He heard him say 4.5. I told him, I said, I'm not following more for 6 hours at this pace. He said, no, at this pace it'll be more like 4.5. So it's Mo, Garrett, Paul with the camera. Dan Jaworski is on Paul's wheel. I'm on Dan's wheel. And Ed, who was sitting next to Mo back there, is on my wheel. And then I believe we have Laura and the guy in the black Rafa jersey that pulled up earlier. And I think Mike Bradbury is back there. Mike Bradbury backed off the pace because he's got a single cog, got a fixed gear bike pretty much. Not a true track bike. It can coast, but a single speed, let's say, so to speak. And I don't know what kind of what ratio he has in the back, but it's just when the pace is like this, hard to you're either spinning really high cadence or pushing too much, depending on the pace and the terrain. Ideally, you should ride those single speed bikes solo. It's hard to do in a group. This is like a false flat. You can see the road going up. It's a slight grade. And we're going into the wind. Go right at about 20 to 21 miles an hour. You know, it's just consistent. The 22, 23 into this wind. I mean, it's just wind and grade. It's brutal. When the grade kicks in, the speed drops a little bit. When the levels of it goes up. But we're doing between 21 to 23 most of the time. You can hear the wind. I've dubbed it somewhat, but we're going into the wind. That's what this storm that's hitting the northeast, we're getting a piece of it down here. That's what's changing our temperatures. And later this week, it's supposed to rain around here. It'll be rainy and cold. Clear, so we roll. There's a channel I found called Not Just Bikes. He talks about how, you know, designing a city for walkability and alternate forms of transportation. It's an excellent channel. Check it out. Not Just Bikes on YouTube. He's got almost 1 million subscribers. But he talked about stuff that resonated with me where, you know, people act like bicycles should be treated like cars as far as being required to stop at every intersection. Our momentum means a lot for the bicycle. And we're not saying you need to blast through the intersection at 50 kilometers an hour, but you should be allowed to yield or slow down and go through versus a car that's required to stop. And even though they're required to stop, they don't stop. They slow down and roll. So that's what he talks about. So check out his channel. I mean, I binge watched it the whole Thanksgiving holiday, and it's very educational. He moved from Canada to the Netherlands by choice because of how the Netherlands allows you to have a choice in how you transport yourself. Meaning I can ride a bike, I can walk, I can take the train, I can take a tram. I don't have to have a car. Whereas in North America, with our suburbs, we're car dependent, and it's expensive owning a car. I have a car that I rarely drive, but I still gotta pay insurance, registration, repairs, all that crap. I ride my bicycle more than I drive my car. But most people are not diehards like us that are comfortable riding on roads like these where you're sharing the road with cars. So when you build infrastructure that separates bicycles from cars, we'll get everyday folks using the bike for utility, to pick up groceries, go to work, whatever. And that's what happens in a lot of European cities, you know, like the Dutch cities, and even in Switzerland and so forth, in Norway. Even in the snow, these guys ride their bikes. And they're not riding bikes because they love bikes. They're riding bikes because it's the fastest way to get from point A to point B. They even lay out the cities to where if you're on a bicycle, if you're riding a bicycle, what happens is you're given a priority to use the most direct route. In fact, they move cars. Like if you driving a car, you take the long way to get to the same point. And if you're riding a bike, you take the most direct route. It makes sense. So they've revamped the infrastructure to where bicycles and cars have separate routes, you know, to a certain extent. Not 100%, but a bicycle has its own route and the cars have their own route. And then where they're sharing the bike, where applicable, I mean, where they could do it, the bike path is separate and raised with a concrete thing that you would do like a sidewalk. And then they have pedestrian facilities there. And I was watching, it was almost like a ballet where people are riding bikes, pedestrians are walking, and there's no conflict because the bikes will slow down for the pedestrians, or the pedestrians will wait for the bikes. Because bikes are not going that fast. They might be doing 15 kilometers, or let's say 25 kilometers an hour. That's 15 miles an hour. And it's easy to slow down on a bicycle when you're already going slow. And another thing they've done, they've slowed down the speeds of cars in areas where people live, work, or shop. 30 kilometers an hour is the speed limit. That's like 18 miles an hour. So, and then another thing they've also done is when the cars come to a corner and there's a sidewalk, the sidewalk is raised. So the sidewalk becomes like a speed bump. So when you have a speed bump and then they narrow the lanes in those areas. So if the road is small and it has bumps, you don't need anybody to tell you to slow down. You just instinctively slow down. Because if you go through there, you tear up the undercarriage of your car. So they've really put a lot of thought into it. Check it out. Not Just Bikes. It's on YouTube. And it's just a better way to live than being stuck in a car. You know, even kids can ride their bikes to their games after school. You see kids in full hockey outfits riding their bike to go play hockey. You don't need to depend on your parents to drive you places. This nonsense we have over here, what we call soccer moms and all that crap. It's got time to be driving kids around. The kids don't develop any independence. So that's a better way to do things, and we know it. It's not foreign to North America. That's the way our cities were laid out back in the 1920s and 30s. They ripped out all those tram lines because of the automobile. The automobile companies bought all the tram cars, destroyed them, ripped up the tracks to sell us cars. You know, they didn't do it for our benefit. They did it to make money. Welcome to capitalism. We're on Mill Route. So garages maintain the pace once again, which is right. So Moore ended up sitting at the front until we got to the light at 105. Then he said, "Oh, I've done my fair share," something like that. And I told him, "We're not following you like this." You know. Because I plan to ride at least 10 beats below where I am right now. So I'm one zone higher than I had planned to be in. So I knew I wasn't going to do this for 6 hours. So check it out. The reason I want you to check out Not Just Bikes is we can change the way we live here in North America. Just how they went and bought all those tram cars and tore up the tracks, we can start right in our neighborhood and push our local officials to build us sidewalks and build us bikeways instead of just doing everything for the car. Not everybody should be required to buy a car. It's an unnecessary expense that people shouldn't have to. We should be able to walk, ride a bike, take a tram, take a train, whatever. And if you still want to drive a car, that's fine. That's another option. It shouldn't be the only option, the only way to get around. The suburbs are boring. Nobody's outside. Nobody hangs out. Everybody just drives and shuts the garage door. It's like a ghost town. Then they wonder why they got to go online to meet people. Where are you going to meet people? You're never outside. Well, we grew up the cities. You hung out. There were shops and restaurants. You walked down the middle of the street. You could walk around the corner to buy your groceries. You didn't need to go far. But they got all these fancy zoning laws. So check them out. And there's another thing called Climate. I think it's Climate Town. And there's another one called Strong City. And it's happening here, like in Chicago, Portland, and other places. They're bringing us back to the way we used to live in the 20s and the 30s, where everybody could walk everywhere, and the car was not given a priority. Cars ruin the landscape. These ugly parking lots that are everywhere. Just everything's paved, and they're always empty anyway, because they have what they call minimum parking. If you open a business, they have minimum parking laws that force every business to have a certain number of parking spots. So it's too expensive for people to open up businesses. They got to spend money on parking for cars. So they make everything cheap for you to own a car, so you're stuck. So, look into that. There's better ways to live. These communities where then people want to tell you to get off the road. No, you get out of that car. Sit on your butt all the time and gain weight instead of moving your body. Moore's in the distance again. The garage just held our pace, so that was good. He didn't try to chase it. We're approaching the FM 2854. We're going to be turning right. It's clear. I basically stayed just on the shoulder. This is Paul moving here behind Garrett, and I'm about a couple of riders behind Paul. Garrett's looking back to make sure the Paceline is tight. No matter how cold it is, you notice Garrett just took 2 swigs out of his water bottle. No matter how cold it is, you got to remember to drink, because your blood volume needs to stay up as you exercise to keep those nutrients flowing to your muscles. It hurts your performance if you get dehydrated. You have to remind yourself, especially when it's cold, to drink frequently. Every 15 minutes, take a little swig, even if you're not thirsty. Get fluids in there, because you perspire. You may not perspire as much as you do in the summer, but you need to keep your blood volume up. You need to make sure you're hydrated. Because you're creating lactate, and you need to make sure you have enough fluid so your system can flush that out of your muscles. There's a red light over here. I guess it's new. This is a new neighborhood on the right.
This is the first weekend. First weekend, and we got it right away.
That neighborhood's been there for a while. They added this light because this road, the traffic is high, well, high speed, and these people have trouble getting out of their neighborhood. This road has a slight grade, kind of like a false flat. But the effort has stayed the same throughout the ride. I stayed most of the ride at sweet spot, even though that's not where I had planned to be. So I have to give credit to Mo because he kept the effort reasonable. He could go faster because there were times where we hit a hill and he just kept riding at his pace, and the gap will open, but then he would back off. Because it's hard to know where to keep the effort. You kind of have to gauge it. It's a range. It's hard to really nail it specifically. This section of this road is downhill. It's going to roll up probably about 40K, 27 miles an hour. riding into Montgomery, Texas. That's Highway 105 in the distance. This is where 2854 meets 105.
I gave my contribution. Are we stopping at Regent? Yeah. Yeah, so just Regent. Are we stopping here?
Yeah, most asking if we're stopping at Richards or just Richards, or are we stopping here? I told them, yeah, we're stopping here briefly, short stop, then Richards, then Keenan. Because in the winter, you got to go often. You know, you're not perspiring as much. So we'll stop at Taco for a short, maybe 5 minutes.
I think he had his new bike, didn't he? We rode together. We rode together the day before. We rode Saturday. Was it hot dog?
So you see, even though that car passed in his lane, he's going so fast that riders who are not, I guess, frequent cyclists, they're not comfortable with cars passing them like that, even if they're in the other lane. That's what prevents a lot of people from getting out on their bikes, unless they're on a separate bikeway. I mean, there are riders that will ride their bikes no matter what, like us. But then you've got the other people that would be what we call encouraged to come out if we had safer facilities. Because a lot of people are not as comfortable as we've become having a car pass by moving over or even in the other lane. Especially at the speeds these cars are moving on these roads. So some people can't fathom that we do what we do on these bikes here. So it's a matter of comfort level. So when your city or town or village or whatever creates access to a bikeway that is separate from motor vehicles, more people will ride bikes more often. It's the same thing. If you build sidewalks, more people will walk. But then you got to have a place to go. So if you make all the stores be restricted to one area, which is 10 miles from where people live, like in the suburbs, in certain cities, you can't build a store near single-family homes, or you can't have apartment buildings near single-family homes. So all you got is single-family homes stuck in the middle of nowhere. To go buy a bottle of milk, they got to drive 5 miles, 10 miles, to the store. So the cities are laid out poorly, and it doesn't encourage people to want to walk. If the store was around the corner, you'd go get the milk. So Houston is not as bad in terms of the zoning, because we have some convenience stores or whatever that can spring up right near the neighborhoods. But the problem is, when they build these neighborhoods, you can't walk through the cul-de-sac to go to the store that you see right there. So if you tried to walk the way cars drive out of the way, it would take longer, tremendously longer. It's just, city planning, They need to put more thought into it, because this is how the U.S. used to be. And now there's car-centric stuff. Put everybody in the middle of nowhere. Everybody needs a car to get everywhere. So you never really meet anybody, because you're not outside hanging out. There's no pub like Cheers in the neighborhood where everybody congregates. Or, an open space outside. So this takes us to Taco Corner here.
Can I get the key? I'm gonna head back. I'm overdressed, so I don't feel it today at all.
No way.
Yeah.
So Laura says she's overheating.
I'll look straight if you're ready. Or I'm right around myself, but can't do it.
I'll go back with you.
No.
You guys can catch up. I really want to catch you.
So our boy's taking off. And he said we can catch up. I said, no, we're not going to catch you.
I told him to go.
So this is after our stop. We're leaving. Laura said she was not feeling it today. She's a little tired. So after we get out of the forest, she's going to turn around. I end up turning around too. Just decided to turn back with Paul. Because Paul turned, and you'll see that.
Hey, Luca. You better keep your eyes on the back because if you leave it alone, I will check it. Thank you. Such a beautiful color. I love it. Appreciate it.
So we're headed north. We're headed east right now. Kind of northeasterly. 14 Celsius. Slightly warmer than when we started, not tremendously warmer. We're going into the forest here. I'm sitting on Garrett's wheel, and in a little while I'm going to tell him to back off a bit because the group had a split. Because when we left, not everybody clipped in at the same time. It always happens whenever we stop. And so I'll have him back off just long enough till everybody gets together. But the thing is that everybody should be paying attention. If you're pulling, pay attention to the rest of the people in your group. Make sure the group is together. So here we are together. We're going into the wind. This is, like that says 3.2. It basically is a slow drag of a climb, and then it will level off. And whenever you're going north in the winter around here, the wind is in your face. So you definitely, that's why we dress warm, because in the forest, when we get out here, when we get into the national forest, it's always like 5 to 7 degrees cooler than where we started from. So when we get to Mount Pleasant, I'm going to just drift to the back and sit on the back. The effort's not hard right now, but I just don't really want to. I wanted to ride just very steadily today. And the first hour was faster than I wanted to do. So we're approaching the entrance to the National Forest from 1097 here. This is FM 1097 eastbound. On the west side, they call this Bethel. So right when we get in here, I'll go ahead and drift to the back and wave everybody up, wave Mike Bradbury and the rest of the people up, and just slip to the back. The road goes up here. So from the time we entered the forest back there, my heart rate has dropped about probably 10 beats. I slipped to the back and just kind of sat in. I'm trying to keep my effort right here, 150 or less. That's my goal. That was my plan for this ride. So when you're in a group ride, everybody who knows what they're doing has a different plan. And Garrett's keeping the effort fairly steady here. So it's going to level off and it's going to go downhill right after this curve here. There's a section coming up that has been newly paved, freshly paved. It's really, really nice. Look at that. Beautiful, smooth asphalt. And this is what I'm talking about, car-centric, meaning that's why I like that channel, not just bikes. They just spent a lot of money to pave this road, and they put no dollars into making sure these people can walk to their mailbox or walk to the neighbors or whatever. And they wonder why people in the suburban areas feel so isolated.
Come back.
There is no sense of community when you build a city like this. Just the road. It's like they don't even want you to be able to walk. So the reason why Paul said car back is so if somebody getting off the front, that's not the time to swing left.
Recently, yeah?
Yeah.
This is very nice.
Yeah.
It used to be hard.
Yeah, they fix it really nice.
They need to do the whole forest. Once we get off of here, it gets really, really choppy. Then they've actually scraped up the rest of the road going to Hidden Forest Road. And there's sections of it is like going over a washboard. I figured they were going to pave it because, you know, usually they will scrape the top layer of the asphalt before they come and pave it, but they've actually striped it with these double yellows and they have not paved it because the surface is worse than what it was before. You'll see in a bit. This section is nice. These kind of roads where they're twisty and narrow, the drivers slow down. Because if the road is now wide and straight, you're not comfortable going fast. That's just a psychological thing. That's just, you know, the brain will make you slow down. So the drivers on these roads are not going very fast. Because there are people's homes right to the left. You can see them. So this is not the pavement I'm talking about. This is like a chip seal kind, but later on they've already scraped up the standard smooth asphalt and it's just very rough. It has a lot of cracks and divots. And section of it, it feels like a washboard. Literally, you can see it. It just shakes you up. So I ride by the yellow line in those sections. When I ride solo on this road, this is where I sit, where you see Luca. That's exactly where I sit solo. I want them to move over as they go by. I'm not sharing my lane with them. I'm one cyclist, they can see around me, but I want them to use the other lane. It's quiet, there's no volume of traffic on this road, so 99% of the time they will use the other lane. And you need to encourage them by where you place yourself. So then you have no issues with drivers coming too close when they go by. That's what I mean when they say position yourself properly. Take the lane. And that's the best spot to ride because it's clean. It reduces your chances of a puncture. Because that's where their right tire rides. This is the section we're going to turn onto. On North Mount Pleasant Road. It will take us to Hidden Forest, and it's torn up. They've scraped it up. I thought they were going to come and pave it. They've done some work. There's a section where they even left gravel, where they put a culvert across the road. Especially on the right. You hear that? It just gets choppy. It gets worse. So that's why I said washboard right. It's just rough. It's uncomfortable. It's not terrible. I've ridden on worse roads. I don't know if you noticed how Laura lifted her bike on that little lip where the pavement was uneven. Just that little lift. You lift your bike at speed, it just goes, you don't even touch that. There's another washboard section on the right there, so I stayed to the left here. Behind Paul. You can see, you saw the ripples in the middle of the road. Look down here on the right. You could see those little waves. They're like, and they shake you up. So when they came and painted it, they painted the lines. Because they didn't used to have lines. I was a little disappointed. I figured they were going to surface this section, resurface it before doing anything. Maybe they will. We'll see. So I like coming through here. Maybe keeping it rough might be a good thing. It forces drivers to slow down. And There's a lot of bumps. So when I come through here, I stay to the left. You got to read the road. So we ended up going at the same effort that we were doing when Mo was pulling through here. It's the same effort. It's a little faster than what I'd like to do for the total distance, but you know, that's why I just sit in. So we're turning left here. So once we turn, this road coming up is called Hidden Forest Road. It's much smoother than the piece we're just on. It was resurfaced a while back. She says she can't get her heart rate to come down. Yeah, that's yeah. My issue when I'm tired, I can't get my heart rate to go up. So everybody's different.
We can turn. I don't even see. Oh, 153.
So we're going to be turning at the corner. That might be my wheel on the left. So we're going to be turning. So this is part of what we did on Saturday. In a little bit, you will see where we're going to turn around. Laura's going to go back in town, and Paul said, "Oh, I'm stopping with Laura, so I decide where I'm going to ride with Paul and Laura." But then
turn here.
So I guess they had planned to turn. I was not aware of it. And then when I turn there, I hear him saying he's going to go back.
This is the place to do it. Right here. Yeah, stop right there. Let's go the opposite direction.
Turn back. You guys go on.
Edward, I'm going to turn with Laura here. Yeah, she's not feeling good, so we're going to go back.
My heart rate's way up. I just can't.
Stay with Laura.
Okay, I'll stay with her.
Okay.
Go ahead. You guys want to drive?
So I decided to turn back also.
Go ahead.
So-
I'll turn back. Sorry.
My brother, you're going to go ahead and go. You're turning back?